everybody, I'm Magnus and welcome back to my channel. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with today's video. First, I just do want to say welcome back again, and I hope everyone's been doing alright, taking care of yourselves and being safe out there. But anyway, moving forward, today's video, it's going to be lesson number 11, and it's going to be 16 tips for beginner witches. Now, this is just something I think, in my opinion, I think these are 16 tips that are kind of essential or just rather important in your practice, or especially if you're beginning in this practice. These are things that I kind of wish people would have talked to me and told me about and whatnot. I definitely think it would have kind of helped me a little bit along my path some. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get started with it. So the first tip that I want to tell you, witchcraft is not for everybody. Okay, it's not. It's okay to dabble in it a little bit, to kind of test the waters, to see to see if this really resonates with you, if you really connect to it, or if it was more of fascination, like you rather just kind of read about it and watch it on TV kind of thing, So don't feel bad for kind of practicing a little bit or getting into it, reading about it and whatnot, talking about it with other people, and then realizing it's not for you. That's okay. Don't let somebody tell you, you have to do this because you started this path, and slap the crap out of them. Like, oh, wait, I don't condone violence. But anyway, so I think that would be the first tip. It's okay. It's not for everybody, so it's okay to kind of dabble a little bit. And I don't mean dabbling like trying to summon demons and do a bunch of crazy stuff that you have no knowledge, background of, or anything, but I think you get what I'm saying. The second most important thing, the second tip that, I keep saying more important, the second tip that I would give you as a beginner would be to read everything, and I do mean everything. There will be things that you read, say you're starting on one kind of path, you got this book, this is kind of what you're following right now, right? You get these other books or these other things that you see, and they kind of are opposite a little bit of what you're doing. Don't ignore them, like read them. Just because, even if you don't necessarily agree with it in the end, it's going to give you a different perception. More or less what it's going to do is it's going to open a bunch of doors, and it's going to allow you, don't think of it doors, think of it as like vendors and stuff like that, or like you're at a farmer's market, and it's giving you the opportunity to get a whole bunch of different vegetables and a whole bunch of different fruits and stuff. That's what reading's going to do for you. It's going to allow you to see things differently, to acknowledge things, and so even if you don't apply that into your practice, that's okay. But the more you learn, the more you're going to advance your path for your own practice, for the way you want it, for your personalization in it, So read everything. Third tip, write everything down. I mean, write it down. If you have a dream about something, say if you're just curious about dreams and you're wanting to learn about what dreams mean, you want to have like a dream diary per se. You don't have to have an actual dream diary. Just write a little bit of it down. As soon as you wake up in the mornings, write it down. Anything like that. If you do tarot cards, if you want to start in tarot cards, write it down. Every time you do a reading, write it down. If you do any kind of spell work and stuff like that, write it down. When you learn different correspondences and stuff that you feel you work with well or connect with well, write it all down. Write all these correspondences down. Don't hesitate to write it down on something. It doesn't matter if it's just a little scrap piece of paper. You can take that piece of paper and put it in a book and be done with it, and there you go. You got it written down somewhere. This right here, take lots of notes. I do, in this little side tip, I do want to mention about a grimoire / book of shadows. that can be your book of shadows right there, doing what I'm talking about. It's basically like a diary. It's writing everything that you're learning into it. That's the concept of what a grimoire and book of shadows are. Now, there are a slight difference between the two. A book of shadows is more like a journal, like a diary, like an everyday kind of thing, and then a grimoire is more like um, the ingredients book. It's got like everything and anything in there. You know, it's got spell work, but it's also got correspondences. It's also got different oils and different stuff that you've put in there, you know, that you've already put into use and stuff. It's got definitions of, you know, dream interpretations and tarot card readings and stuff. It's got a lot more in depth. Now, your book of shadows can be the same, but it's really up to you. Like I say, a book of shadows is more like a quick journal kind of thing. Grimoire is more in depth. It's got all of it in there. So, but anyway, point is, write it all down. It doesn't matter how you started off. The reason I was mentioning Grimoire and Book of Shadows is because Book of Shadows or Grimoire can literally be, you know, a folder with a bunch of pieces of paper in there. That can be your Grimoire. I mean, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be anything. So it can just be that simple, as long as you write the stuff down. Okay? Let's see. The fourth one. Fourth tip. So this one right here, I want to make sure that I say it properly. Know your calling. No, that's not the way I want to word it. Know why you're choosing to take this path. Okay? Is it because someone told you to? Is it because you were influenced by other people, by TV, media, things like that? What influenced you? What's caused you to be on this path? The reason I say that you should know this, you should acknowledge it and fully understand it, because if you're on this path to gain knowledge and, you know, to eventually put it into use and stuff like that, you know, it's amazing, it's wonderful. But if you're in this because you like the show behind it, you like the fancy glitter and glamour, and you think that the magic you see like on TV, that fantastical stuff on there is what's going to happen, you're going to have a rude awakening, and you're going to have a really bad perception of the craft. It's going to leave a bitter taste in your mouth when you try to do that. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't practice and have your glitter and glam. By all means, glitter and glam it up, baby girl, or boy, whatever. But just know whatever's drawing you into it, whatever's drawing you into the craft, make sure it's going to be for a purpose, for growth, you know, in some kind of way for you, not just for show. Well, actually, I'm probably nobody to tell you that. I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't say it that way. The main point is that the fourth tip would be just to make sure that you understand why you're on the path that you're on. Okay? The next one, the fifth tip. No one path is finite. It is not set in stone in any kind of way. Don't let somebody tell you differently. That's part of the reasons why I say some of the things that I say about like reading everything, for example, because you will see that when somebody tells you like, hey, it's set in stone over here, you're going to read 100 things over here that say differently, because there are so many different paths in this path. You know what I'm saying? Like it. So don't let someone try to tell you otherwise, all right? Make sure you set out your little tentacles out into the world and you figure out what your path is and you follow that path. Don't let anybody else try to push you down another one, or don't let anyone tell you that your path is wrong. That's not very humane, or I don't know the word I want to use, because I'm thinking of some bad words. So it's just very not nice of them. Okay, we'll just say that. Anyway, let's move on. Tip number 6. Everyone's practice is different. That's why I say about the no one path is finite, because everyone's path is different. Now, these are two different tips that kind of go together, but they are also separate. And what I mean by that is, is that you can have a path of religious aspects and a path of non-religious aspects. Then you can have your physical practice of high magic or low magic or no magic. You can have a spiritual practice as opposed to a magical practice. So even though you have no one path is finite, that is by itself, in my opinion, because there is no one set path. But going along with that, corresponding with that, there's also no one set practice. Everyone's practice is going to be different. No, it's supposed to be that way. That actually, now I might get a little mixed up on some of these tips because I went ahead and wrote a few of them down just to make sure I was able to articulate it into words a little better, even though I feel like I'm failing miserably at the moment. But going into everyone's practice is different. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Your craft will grow, and that's okay. It's supposed to. It's normal. So even though you may start off with a path, say you have a friend or someone you work with, you practice with, that path might change eventually between you two. But that doesn't mean you can't work together from time to time, but understand that your path will grow. It will change. So be okay with that. Understand that it's supposed to do that. It's not supposed to stay stagnant. Anything that becomes stagnant tends to draw unwanted bacteria and viruses and critters and stuff. So don't be that stagnant water, okay? So yeah, it will grow. Don't stress over it. Don't fret over it. And don't let yourself get overwhelmed by it, okay? That's part of the process of reading and writing it all down and doing all this, is because it will grow and it will help you see this pattern of growth that you go through, and then it will help you understand it is natural, it is okay, it's the way it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to be stationary spiritually. We're supposed to continuously grow in that spiritual path, so it's by all means normal. Now, the next one I want to say, the next tip would be basics are absolutely fundamental, okay? I mean, they're a necessity. The basics would be like grounding, centering, visualization, energy manipulation, cleansing, protecting, banishing, attracting. These are things that I think are absolute necessities when you start off in your practice. They're going to help give you the foundations to your spell work later down the road. You can put all this stuff into your rituals, into your spells, into whatever it is you're doing. You can put it into that. You put it into your work. This is literally giving you the tools that you need. Some of these things are to be a better practitioner, to get better results, better manifestations, quicker manifestations, things of that sort. Now, with me saying that, this is one of those things, the next tip is one of those things that some people agree with, some people disagree with. That's why I say all these are just kind of my interpretation, my way that I've experienced them through my practices. But that would be the basics and intuition together are absolutely key in the beginning, okay? Just in the beginning, I promise. Those are key. Tools and ingredients, they will come down the road, I promise. Don't rush yourself, don't overwhelm yourself with trying to gain too much knowledge too fast, because you want to apply stuff accurately. You want to do it properly to get the results that you want. You don't want to always kind of half-ass it and either A, not get results, or B, not get the results you wanted. So intention and the basics are definitely key in the beginning, and then those ingredients and those tools, once you learn a lot about different correspondence and stuff, those tools and ingredients will come in handy, okay? Now, with that being said, everything is important, but not needed. That is a key thing that you're going to have to remember, okay? Every single thing around you, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, is important. But is it needed? No, not at all. in one of my earlier videos, I talked about props. You know, you see a lot of stuff on people's altars. You know, an altar can be a few items. It can be very minuscule in what's there, and it can be very elaborate in what's on it. Those items on there can be considered props. Props are like a tool. You know, they help you in different ways. They have different representations, whether it's a personal representation that you feel connected to, or whether it's because of a correspondence that you came across that you're using it for that correspondence or that purpose, or whatever the case may be. So even though everything is important, it's also not required. You are the most important key element in your working. That's it for you. You are the most important tool there is. And just know that, you know, in being the most important tool, that you don't have to like be the only battery source per se for your workings. You know, the basics, when I was talking about grounding and centering, energy manipulation, stuff like that, those basics right there can help you assist in working with energies around you, through the earth, through the moon, the sun, plants, just stuff around you, into your workings to where you don't have to put so much of your personal energy into it. So these items around you aren't required. You know, you are the only requirement in your practice. Just your full, I would say, intuition, your hunger, I guess, for knowledge. You know, the more you learn, like the more you're going to grow in your path. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But so anyway, going on to the next tip. Tip number, what was it, 10? Yeah, tip number 10. Knowledge over spell work. Okay? I'm not going to laugh. I'm not going to make jokes. I'm very serious. Knowledge over spell work. Okay? That's how you get to your spell work. That's how you get to where you have way more like spells and rituals and things that have actually manifested, that have actually worked in your favor, is by learning the knowledge behind it, the processes, understanding correspondences, understanding everything that I've already said, the basics up to that point, over spell work. Remember that. Like, that is, to me, that probably should have been the first thing that I said. You know, the very first tip is knowledge over spell work. Most of your stuff, most of your practice, I don't want to give you a percentage, but if I had to, I'd probably say 60 to 70% easily is going to be reading and learning and gaining knowledge. That last 30 to 40% is going to be your actual workings, your actual practices. So, tip number 10, knowledge over spell work. Let's see, 11. Tip number, well, I don't have enough fingers. Tip number 11. Don't go spending a bunch of money. Why go spending a bunch of money? There's really no requirement for it. There's not a need for it. There's a lot of stuff that you don't need to get. I've already said it. You know, you are the only thing that, you're the only really tool that you need. So if there are things that you want, there's ways to go acquire them, either more naturally or whatnot, without having to go spend a bunch of money. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I just don't want you buying a bunch of stuff that you're not going to actually use later, you know. I can speak for myself and a lot of practitioners that I've met. We've all kind of done this in the beginning. We've been like, oh, I seen this and I saw that and I like this, so you know what, I'm just going to get it all. I love this stuff, you know, or this book says that I need this, or this whatever over here that I read, this article that I read over here says that I need that, and you start getting all this stuff. You're going to acquire so much stuff, you're just not going to have space for it. So please don't do it. Now that doesn't mean that you can't go out and buy stuff. By all means, go out and make yourself happy. But that actually leads me into the next tip. Tip number 12. Make your own items. Make your own tools if possible. When you can put it into your practice and you can put those things into your stuff, you know, like that you're working with, and you're doing this, it's adding so much energy into it while you're making it. So imagine the energy that you get from it when you buy it and you cleanse it and then you put it into your working. You know, you like that energy? Well, now imagine that like buffed up more, you know, like steroid up a little bit or something. That's basically what it is when you're making these items. You're putting that energy into it while it's being created. And so that's going to add a lot more energy and potency to your workings whenever you apply it to it. So if you can, get crafty. You know, that's the easy way I like to say it. Get crafty. 13. Tip number 13. This kind of goes along with some of the stuff that I've already said, but personalize and customize your practice. That is a requirement. Okay? No, I'm not saying that it's in a book somewhere that says it's a requirement. It's my requirement for you. Make it about you. This is your practice. Yours and yours alone. Okay? You have to have everything around you in your practice that connects to you. You can't have items and things all placed around that someone told you you needed or that you read about that you may have needed, and you have these things and you have no connection to them. Even if you try to use them, they're going to half-ass work because you're not really connecting to that. So personalize your stuff, customize it, you know, the workings, the spell work itself. Even if you're not into, you know, actual creating your own spells right away, that's okay. You can look at other people's spell work, other people's rituals, and you can customize those to fit your needs, your situations, or, you know, your certain practice, your particular practice. So definitely personalize. I think I've got lost on my numbers here for some reason. I did, because I said another one. I don't know which one I missed, but I'm sure I'm going to end up getting off on it somewhere, messing up somewhere. But another thing that I want to say is you don't have to be called a witch. So, you know, that's another tip I did want to say. The last one I said was 14. I went up to 15. I should have been 15, but oh yeah, I do have 15. Okay, but anyway, so we'll say 15. You don't have to be called a witch, okay? It's literally just a label. Don't take it that you have to call yourself that. Don't take it that you don't have to call yourself that. Yeah, you can call yourself that if you want. The way I see it when it comes to labeling yourself, when it comes to your practice, if you know the etymology of a term and you still care to use that term for yourself, do it. Who cares? It's not their practice. It's not them being called that name. If you want to be called a sorcerer, sorceress, wizard, witch, warlock, who cares? You know, as long as you know where it comes from, the term of it, the name of it, like where it originated, and you still want to use it, that's your choice. You know, the reason I say I like for people to understand where it comes from is, well, because you should. If you're going to use any term, just like in the language you speak, when you use that term, you know what it means, correct? Well, you should do that whenever you call yourself something. If you want to call yourself a witch, know where a witch came from, know where the term came from. If you want to call yourself a warlock, know where the term warlock came from. Make sure you understand it, so then if you choose to still call yourself that, then that's just the choice word because you like the word, because you feel a connection to that word, not because you have a connection of where it came from, but yet you still understand where it came from, if that makes any sense. The last tip number 16, is explore divination in all its many forms. Divination is something that can really help you out through your spell work. It can, so say for example, you can do something simple like a little scrying, or use a pendulum, or a single card, tarot card reading or drawing to basically ask if the spell you're going to do is going to not necessarily work, but if it's going to work, or if you should use this ingredient or that ingredient. Like, you can ask a lot of yes and no questions, or ask certain things about maybe the way the spell's going to work out, and you can get a little answer prior to doing the spell work. So then it might mean, if you get a negative response, then it might mean that you need to adjust the spell or do it at a later point for whatever the case may be. Divination, there's so many forms of it. I will be doing probably an entire category. It's not even a video. There are so many. Like, I was looking up different types of divination, different type forms, and there are several. But anyway, I will be going through many of them at one point. We'll see though. I'll see how I figure that out. But anyway, going with some of the things that I've talked about a little bit. Well, I don't guess I've really pinpointed whether it was good or bad, or black or white, or negative or positive. But I wanted to talk about magic for just a quick second, especially when it comes to certain terms, like when I was saying about you don't have to call yourself a witch. There's a lot of terms going out like white witch and gray witch and green witch. Now, certain terms, green witch, we understand typically refers to someone who works with herbs or nature, something of that sort. But terms like white witch and gray witch give this illusion that magic has, I don't know the word, my apologies for being at a lost word for it, but it doesn't have a right or wrong. It is neutral in its core. The only thing that makes magic non-neutral is the practitioner, the person using it. So keep that knowledge while you apply your workings in your craft. Some people say that it's white and black and this and that, and that's like me giving you a hammer and telling you that hammer is evil. That's literally what it is, because that hammer is a tool to help build something. Well, that's what magic is. Magic is like a tool to help build your life. It's to help make it better. It's to help bring things into existence for you to manifest a better life for yourself or for those around you, for the world. So just keep that in mind whenever you're doing your practices, whenever you're doing your pathway, whatever your path is, whatever your practice is. Keep some of these things in mind. Again, these are my beliefs, my experiences, my thoughts and opinions on it. I apologize for getting paused up a few times. Like I said, I did write some of this down because well, to be honest, I felt it needed to be said. There's a lot of newbies out there, a lot of new baby witches, and I feel they can use some of this information, or y'all can use some of this information, because I know it definitely could have assisted with my practice and my path prior to now. But anyway, again, I apologize for getting scatterbrained and pausing off and on. I feel like I've wasted probably a good 8 to 10 minutes of just going, getting lost and brain farts. But on that note, I'm going to go. Thank you for sticking around. I'm surprised this video has been this long. It's about 30 minutes now. So thanks for everything. I'm glad you watched the video. I hope it was somehow informative, enlightening, something of the sort for you. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to leave it down in the comments below. As well, if you have any video ideas, or if there was something that I went over that you didn't fully understand, or I didn't specify properly in some kind of way, just let me know. I'll be glad to articulate a little bit better for you. Anyway, take care of yourself. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Be safe out there. Know somebody's thinking about you. Okay? Like I always say, though, stay safe, be kind, and take no shit. Later.